VoiceAmerica.com.
Welcome to Crime Prevention 101 with host Susan Bartelstone. We're so happy you've joined us this weekend. Over the next hour, you'll learn the tips, tricks, and vital information that'll help you keep yourself confident and safe. Now, here's the host of Crime Prevention 101, Susan Bartelstone.
Good afternoon, and welcome to Crime Prevention 101, the personal safety radio show with the optimistic perspective on a sober subject. And as always, it is my great honor, my great privilege, and extreme pleasure to be here with you once again this Saturday and spend the next hour with you. And I sure hope that you had a safe week since you were together last. I hope by now that you've had a chance to take a look at my new host page on the Voice America website. I'm not sure where you're hearing the show because we are on iTunes now, so you could be hearing it over your cell phone. But if you get a chance, if you haven't seen the new host page, it's just amazing. You can email shows right from the website to your friends. Let them know, by the way, because if you find this show a benefit, tell everyone. There's some really important stuff that we talk about every week, and everyone should hear this. Also, you can post the shows on Facebook and Twitter right from my host page. You can bookmark your favorite shows, and you can contact me directly. So take a look and check it out if you haven't done so. And by the way, if you are on Twitter, send out a tweet right now. Tell your friends that you are listening to Crime Prevention 101 so that they can jump in. Also, I want to remind you that April is Sexual Assault Awareness Month, and it is also Child Abuse Awareness Month, which I found out recently. And also, this week is Crime Victims' Rights Week. So, as I said it before, can't they give them another month? Why do they crowd all these things in 1 month? 12 months in the calendar, guys, whoever plans these things. But anyway, I've been doing a lot of programs on sexual violence, and today's topic is particularly interesting to me because it's talking about prevention and deterrence. And we're going to talk particularly on how you can use your cell phone in the fight against crime. And I spoke with my guests briefly from My Mobile Witness back in February. They were call-in guests on my Dating Safely Valentine's Day show, and if you missed that show, go back into the archives on my host page to February 14th because that was just a spectacular show, and I was so taken with what they were doing that I just knew that I had to have them back to talk in depth about the My Mobile Witness program. So today we're going to be talking about how you can use cell phone technology as a personal safety tool. And coming up later on, I've got some tips on how to use your camera phone in different ways that we haven't been talking about, so make sure you stay tuned for that. Now, I've got two guests with me today. First one is Marcus Anthony, who is the founder of My Mobile Witness, and he is a telecommunications expert. He's the co-founder, of My Mobile Witness. And he worked on many high-profile projects in the telecom industry, including the first nationwide wireless packet data application. And maybe he'll tell me quickly what that is, very quickly, because I have a feeling it might be.
That was the initial wireless package tracking for a company that was called Roadway Package Systems and is now FedEx Ground.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
oh,
and it was the first national wireless data system.
That obviously is Mark, and Mark, by the way, has a BS in cognitive psychology. I'm sure that comes in handy. And my second guest is Ron Knight, who is the Chief Security Consultant for My Mobile Witness. And Ron is the one that called in on that Valentine's Day show, and he is a former FBI agent specializing in violent crime. He is violent crime and white-collar crime and terrorism. And he also is part of the hostage rescue team at He was part of the hostage rescue team at the FBI headquarters in Quantico, and he participated in such high-profile crimes as the Oklahoma City bombing, the Columbine school shootings in Colorado, and the Texas 7 prison escapees. From 1997 to retirement, he worked as a supervisory special agent for the FBI, and he's got super crime prevention background. Ron, welcome to Crime Prevention 101.
Thanks, Susan. It's good to talk to you again.
Yes, it is a pleasure. All right, so let's start out. The only thing, because we've got two guests, so when you speak, just say who's who. Mark, maybe you start here. What is My Mobile Witness?
My Mobile Witness is a product that allows you to take any cell phone and utilize it as you see fit as a deterrent. If you're going into a situation that you're uncomfortable with, or you just want to record something that down the road you might reference, you might tell somebody that, hey, I've taken a picture and I have evidence of this. It could be as simple as a car accident that you're going to make a record of and post, and we're going to hold for law enforcement if there's ever a dispute where it's time-stamped. It could be as serious as some sort of a personal assault, or you're meeting somebody you're not familiar with. It originally came to me as we were looking to buy a real estate firm, and most of the agents were female. Some events that occurred nationally in the news made me think of how could I protect these women that are sometimes going into an empty building with really somebody they don't know at all. And we were going to set it up in our small real estate firm. And then as we spoke to more law enforcement, both state and federal, and Ron, they came up with more and more uses for it, and we started looking higher and wider than just our little firm. And my background being data, I pulled some other people in, and we came up with a great service here that is rock solid, and we're very proud of it.
All right, so let me just recap. So how does it work? Once you register for this service, and this service, by the way, is free.
Yes.
Once you register, what happens? You're given an account.
Once you go onto the website, you register, you give some information. Most of it is we developed with feedback from law enforcement. What would be important? What would you need to know in addition to any picture, text messages? So you register, and then you're going to receive an email, and that's going to give you an individualized account and an address for you to store in your cell phone. Once you store that and activate your account, it works like any other contact in your cell phone. So just as you would send a picture to a friend or send a text to a friend, you can choose to send it to My Mobile Witness.
Okay, and then from there, where do the pictures go? And
from
and you advise, by the way, that when you take a picture, you also add a message.
You have the option to add a message, yes. And then it goes to our digital vault. It's securely stored and time-stamped. If anything were to happen, law enforcement can go to that record and look at anything you've put in there that was of concern to you. And we have, and Ron can probably elaborate, we have contacts with law enforcement so that any sworn officer in the United States can get into that account quickly if need be.
Okay. Now, actually, Ron. In fact, you and I have had conversations about this. It's actually stored in something called a fusion center. And
what we decided to do is to set up relationships with what are called fusion centers, and a fusion center is just simply a collaborative effort of several law enforcement agencies. The concept grew up in the wake of 9/11, where there was a perception that police departments and federal, state, and local agencies weren't sharing information. So we brainstormed it and thought the best way to do it, to ensure 24/7 coverage, would be to give fusion centers access to My Mobile Witness data via digital handshake. They get an individual code that allows them to pull that account up if there's a legitimate law enforcement reason to do it. And so when Mark says that any sworn officer could get into it, they have to go to the individual fusion centers in their state and and just explain the situation, give them the case number, and then they could see if there was any activity on that account.
That's amazing. And I just want to just backtrack a little bit. How many fusion centers are there altogether?
Well, you'd probably find each state in the union represented. And when I say probably, some states have a regional representation. Say there may be 2 or 3 states in the Midwest, and I don't know this to be the case, but say Nebraska and Kansas shared a fusion center. But all 50 states have to be represented and have that access. And it's a presidential directive, actually, that was signed in 2006 that lays down the sort of the wiring diagram of fusion centers, and it's available on the Department of Justice website if people are interested in how those things work. But very simply, it's just a group of law enforcement people that share information, and they've sort of morphed from strictly terrorism-related and now are into the criminal side and are trying to expand that. So we saw an opportunity to leverage that interest and those capabilities into supporting My Mobile Witness. And frankly, we've received a very, very positive set of comments from the various fusion centers we've talked to.
Yeah, and I think that's really important to know that this service has behind it that kind of law enforcement clout.
Yeah, that's right. It's a deterrent system, and again, every time we talk about it, we try to make sure people understand this is not a substitute for 911 when you're really in dire straits, but it is an opportunity to put something in your hand, and along with your theme this month, the National Sexual Awareness theme, this is an opportunity to have something in your hand that may prevent a sexual assault. Just the simple fact of taking a picture, or if that doesn't work for you, to send a text to your account that nobody else needs to know about would enable you to have that discussion with the person that you're maybe a little worried about, and just say, listen, you're not anonymous, and hopefully that would prevent the sort of things we see.
Mm-hmm. And let's talk about some of the, we want to make it clear, this is not in an emergency. If you are immediately being attacked, you got to call 911. You're not going to take a picture and send it to My Mobile Witness. But let's go through some of the scenarios that would be very legitimate. And and I tell you what, let's take a quick pause right here, because I don't want to get into the middle of it and stop. Let's take a quick pause right here. We're going to hear more about the different scenarios that would be really basic and really where you'd want to have a service like this. So fasten your seatbelt. Don't go anywhere. We're going to be right back.
News, opinion, your voice counts. Call toll-free 1-866-472-5787. 1-866-472-5787. VoiceAmerica.com. There's a purpose revolution sweeping the world. Now more than ever before, in the midst of so many things they could do, people are asking what they should do. Since 1991, John Stanko has been helping people all over the world answer these questions. Now, John is bringing his purpose message and philosophy to Voice America, where you will hear from people of purpose like John, who have found what they were created to do. Join John and his guests from around the world every week on his show, Your Purpose Quest, 6 a.m. Pacific, 9 a.m. Eastern. Right here on Voice America. After more than 17 years' experience teaching safety skills to thousands of women and men, crime prevention and personal safety expert Susan Bartelstone concluded that by thinking and responding quickly, ideally within 20 seconds, potentially violent criminal encounters can be prevented. Using techniques from many different disciplines and illustrated by 60 real-life examples and success stories, Susan shows how it's done in her new book, Think Fast and Prevent a Violent Crime: How to Respond to Danger in 20 Seconds or Less. Check out www.fightsafe.com for more information. You'll also find information there on Susan's upcoming Crime Prevention 101 personal safety teleseminars. Think fast, talk fast, fight smart, which stress the many opportunities you have to deter or defuse a criminal encounter and how to use your brains instead of your muscles in a fight. Look for the new book information or sign up for Susan Bartelstone's personal safety seminars at www.fightsafe.com today.
Adding fractions is nothing.
For real?
Look, These are denominators. You multiply this one so that it's the same as that, and you add them up.
Man, that's easy.
Charles Bennett dreamed of returning to the old neighborhood as a teacher, but without money for college, only half of his dream came true. He's back in the old neighborhood.
Well, enough math. I gotta deliver these sandwiches.
Please support the United Negro College Fund. A mind is a terrible thing to waste. A message from the UNCF and the Ad Council.
Have you ever thought about having your own internet talk show? Well, if you said yes, then click About Us. Then click Be a Host to get more information. Or just call Jeff Spinard at 480-294-6417.
Say that again?
480-294-6417. VoiceAmerica.com.
You're listening to Crime Prevention 101 with Susan Bartelstone. We invite you to share your stories, tips, or suggestions for topics you'd like us to cover, and Susan will address some of these on future shows. Send your story or idea to solutions@fightsafe.com. That email address again is solutions@fightsafe.com. Now back to Crime Prevention 101 with Susan Bartelstone.
Welcome back to Crime Prevention 101. And I'm speaking with Mark Anthony and Ron Knight from My Mobile Witness, and we're talking about ways that you can use cell phone technology for personal safety. And don't forget to send out a tweet. If you're listening and you're on Twitter, there's plenty of show left to tune in for. And at this point in the show, I always like to talk directly to those who are already, if you've already been a survivor of any kind of crime that we might be talking about on the show today, or any crime, please remember that nothing that happened to you was your fault. Even if you think that you used bad judgment in a situation and left yourself vulnerable, that is never an excuse for a crime or for violence. And also, there are no wrong or right responses in a crime situation. Never say, I should have, I could have. If you are alive, you responded correctly. What's really important now is that you call yourself a survivor and not a victim, and you understand that with the proper professional help, you can put what happened behind you. And not really behind you, but you can put it in perspective. You'll never forget it, but you can put it in perspective, and you can get on with your life. Now, let's go back. Guys, we were talking about some of the different scenarios that you might come across where you might want to take a picture or a text and send it to your My Mobile account. And I was going over the website, and they were talking about, let's say you're going through a parking garage, and you see a suspicious vehicle, or even if you're in a shopping center, you know, sometimes you might think some car is following you. This would be a good situation, right? Take a picture of the license plate, put a little...
Yeah, this is Ron, and that's a good example. And the thing to remember, it only takes literally seconds to snap that picture. I mean, it might be a good time just to stop and collect your thoughts, and if it is a running van and it's parked next to your car or something, and you've got to, key your car and get in, it might be a good idea just to take a step back and take that picture, because, again, it's going to enable you to have that conversation. Maybe down the road, hopefully not, but possibly.
Text, this car wasn't here before, and I see someone lurking around it, or, text whatever it is that is occurring to you that's making you suspicious.
Or, Susan, the other thing is if it's running, if you're in a parking garage, there's a vehicle next to your car and it's running, and there's, it's a van or something, and, if you feel uneasy about something, there's usually a reason. Your body or your mind's telling you, and my philosophy has always been to kind of listen to that little voice.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. And if you're really getting a bad vibe, don't go to the car.
That's right. Just turn around. Yeah, absolutely. Just turn around, give it some time, assess the situation when you're sure you're safe. But if I could, Susan, since we talked, kind of an interesting thing happened. I was doing a brief spot with a Fox News station, and I was talking to the reporter, explaining my mobile witness, and she was shooting her shot, and she was from Colorado Springs, and literally the day that we were shooting that spot, a realtor in Colorado Springs, a female realtor, had been called and asked to meet a gentleman up at I call him a gentleman, he's obviously not, but up at a location in Woodland Park, Colorado, and she was assaulted when she met the guy. Mm-hmm. And so getting back to the whole realtor application that Mark mentioned when this whole concept got his attention, I mean, this stuff does happen. And we contacted them later and told the Realty Association about what we do. And, in a situation like that, it might be a good idea to take a picture of that car that's meeting you, or send a text about where you are and something like that. And again, it only takes a couple of seconds, and it's something that you can carry around in your hand. So I wanted to mention that to you because it was such a coincidence, and it really struck me that it was happening while we were talking about this product.
Yeah, this is absolutely for and especially anything like real estate. Every client that comes in, take their picture. Note when they came. You've got a record now. If something happens, you place them there, and you got them there. And if they have something nefarious on their mind, I mean, you can just explain, well, this is common procedure, standard procedure. We always do this when we show houses or when we go out with clients, and just make it very simple like that. But if they know that there's a record, that if they had something on their mind, that might be a deterrent, and I love it. I love it. What about someone comes to the house to make repairs? Right?
Same thing.
Plumber coming. Right? Plumber coming to the house.
Yep, you could have that conversation if you don't feel comfortable. And again, I liked your point when you said, you're not doing anything wrong by being too safe. There's no right or wrong answer. I mean, you shouldn't stress out about taking a picture of somebody or sending a text. And remember, you're sending it basically to yourself. If it does anything to alleviate your concerns, then I'd say it's a good idea.
And also, and by the way, too, if someone repairman comes to the house that you're not expecting, like they're saying that there's an electrical problem or gas problem, and they have to come in the house, and you're not expecting them, you know what? You don't let them in. You call the company first to make sure that this is a legitimate service call. If you find out it's legit and you let the fellow in, take your picture. I always just say, I always do this when I get service calls, and it goes to my account and whatever, you can come up with a nice, very, sort of non-paranoid thing to say to that person, and there you got the record there. So I love that.
Ron, Mark here. One of the interesting scenarios you had laid out with us was an example in Colorado of a gentleman that was selling a car over Craigslist, if you recall telling that story.
Yeah, it was an online shopping service, and it was Boulder in December of 2006, and he advertised online, and these guys came up, looked him over. They really had no intention of buying the car. They just sized him up, took it for a test drive, and unfortunately returned and murdered him. Mm-hmm. And I think that, and I don't know this to be the case, but had he or someone else maybe documented that, these people lose their anonymity. They don't have that comfort level of maybe we can get away with this. They know they can't get away with it. And today on at least on my web page, on my server, which is Comcast, there's a story about an online service. A woman offered an online service and was robbed, I believe, when she showed up for the service. I'm not sure of the whole story, but I noticed the headline. And that's another use. If you're so confident in people that you meet online, that's fine. But there's some bad people out there, and the internet is available to them as well. But we had an unfortunate homicide here in Boulder that resulted in an online deal.
Yeah, I absolutely think that is crucial. It's certainly a blind date or someone that you meet online. Take that picture. put that caption there. Let them know that somebody knows, that somebody will know, and somebody will have access to the fact that this person was there with you. Do it in a non-hostile way, but let the person know that there's a record of the visit. If you are a masseuse and you go to people's houses and you go to someone's house that you've never met, here's another great use for this service. I love this. Now, we also talked, Ron, you and I talked, if you're in a stalking situation, and I get, oh, my God, you have no idea how many emails I get. What do I do if I'm in a stalking situation? Well, one of the first things you have to do is document that you're being stalked. Well, every time you see that person that you think is stalking you, take that picture. 12 noon in front of the A&P. 3 p.m. in front of the car dealer, 4 p.m. in front of my job. Here you're building your case. If you ever do want to get an order of protection against that person, if you ever want to prosecute that person legally, you've got a record. And also, Ron and Mark, as you all know, the only way that the police can enforce an order of protection against somebody is if the person violates it. So, for example, the court may mandate that the person not come within 200 feet of you or 500 feet of you. If that person does, you take that picture. You send it to My Mobile Witness, and there's your record that order of protection has been violated. So I think that is a tremendously great use for this. And also domestic violence situations where the person has a restraining order. They're not to come to the house. They're not to, be at the job. They're not to see the children. Anytime you see a violation of any of those points that are within the order or within the divorce agreement, you got the picture.
Hey, Susan, can I just jump in? This is Ron. Can I jump in for a second?
Sure.
Hey, the only thing I'd like to add to that is if someone is in violation of a restraining order, the only thing I would say is rather than take the picture, I would probably call the police because that is a charge. And if
you want to do both because you have to prove, though, they're going to say, can you prove it? And he's going to say, I wasn't.
Yeah, if somebody shows up at your house and they have a court order saying they can't show up at your house, I think I would opt to make the call to the police first. I like your take, though. If you're building the affidavit to get a restraining order and you have a situation that's deteriorated and this guy's popping up or girls popping up everywhere, that would be a great use of My Mobile Witness because that's your affidavit right there. Every time I turn around, I see this guy, I see this girl, and not only that, here's the date, here's the time, here's a picture, here's what he was doing. And then that leads to the restraining order. And violation of a restraining order can head to a felony in a big hurry if somebody doesn't listen. And then the person's locked up.
I'll go with that. Do both. Call the police and take the picture. How's that?
Okay, I'm good with that.
Do both if there's a violation, because I like the idea that you've got a record, because so many times it's he said, she said. And I like the fact that you've got that documentation there.
And Susan, Mark here, I think the value, one of the values of our product is it's singular in its purpose. Obviously, you could send a picture to Facebook or some of the other more social sites, but ours has a single purpose. It's not for entertainment. Nobody else can see it. Nobody can make you delete it. The user themselves can't delete it. And it has one purpose, so it speaks stronger to law enforcement when it's needed.
Great point. All right, let's take a quick pause. Don't go away. I've got some safety tips coming up, things that you can do with the cell phone to help fight crime. So stay tuned.
Ask the experts. Call toll-free right now, 1-866-472-5787. And ask our All-Star team to answer your question. That's 1-866-472-5787.
Thank you for calling.
VoiceAmerica.com. After more than 17 years' experience teaching safety skills to thousands of women and men, crime prevention and personal safety expert Susan Bartelstone concluded that by thinking and responding quickly, ideally within 20 seconds, potentially violent criminal encounters can be prevented. Using techniques from many different disciplines and illustrated by 60 real-life examples and success stories, Susan shows how it's done in her new book, Think Fast and Prevent a Violent Crime: How to Respond to Danger in 20 Seconds or Less. Check out www.fightsafe.com for more information. You'll also find information there on Susan's upcoming Crime Prevention 101 personal safety teleseminars. Think fast, talk fast, fight smart would stress the many opportunities you have to deter or defuse a criminal encounter and how to use your brains instead of your muscles in a fight. Look for the new book information or sign up for Susan Bartelstone's personal safety seminars at www.fightsafe.com today.
In the spirit of Have Couch Will Travel, Dr. Carol Lieberman creates a haven of sanity in an increasingly insane world. Each day we are bombarded with news of events that have never crossed our wildest nightmares. Society is spiraling out of control and everyone is reeling from it. But now there's an answer. The best way to keep sane in this insane world is to tune in to Dr. Carol's Couch on Voice America. Dr. Carol, a certified media psychiatrist, will broadcast live from her Beverly Hills office every Tuesday at 1 p.m. Pacific Time. Call or log in and get help with whatever is sending you reeling, whenever you need a soothing voice to calm and advise you. That's Dr. Carol's Couch every Tuesday at 1 p.m. Pacific Time here on America's Voice, voiceamerica.com.
Hey, how you doing? Educational videos, top quality, right here.
You'll never hear anyone selling education on the street.
Yo, what's up, baby? Want to learn some history?
I got live learning, beautiful books inside.
And don't expect anyone to just offer you an education.
Who needs a high school diploma, huh?
And fortunately, you can't buy a diploma from some guy with a briefcase. But there is one way you can get the educational skills you and your family need for free, with free family learning programs. Call 1-877-FAMLET-1 for information on free GED, computer training classes, and other family learning programs. That's 1-877-FAMLIT-1.
Check it out, check it out. You want your GED right here, guaranteed, ma. Come on, check it out.
After all, you can't get your education on the street. Free family learning programs from the National Center for Family Literacy. The first step to a better life. Brought to you by the National Center for Family Literacy and the Ad Council.
Talk, talk, talk. That's all we do is talk. If you'd like to talk, call us toll-free right now at 1-866-472-5787. 1-866-472-5787.
That's it. That's it.
VoiceAmerica.com.
You're listening to Crime Prevention 101 with Susan Bartelstone. We invite you to share your stories, tips, or suggestions for topics you'd like us to cover, and Susan will address some of these on future shows. Send your story or idea to solutions@fightsafe.com. That email address again is solutions@fightsafe.com. Now back to Crime Prevention 101 with Susan Bartelstone.
Welcome back. And if you are just tuning in, just joining me today, I'm talking with Ron Knight and Mark Anthony from My Mobile Witness. This amazing service that, in a way that you can help protect yourself using your cell phone. I also want to remind you, do not forget to check my new website, SusanBartelstone.com. Got lots of safety tips and resources on that website. Also, check me out on Facebook. Be my friend. I love friends. Check me out on Twitter. I post all sorts of things on there, resources, videos. Also, really good news. My book, Think Fast and Prevent a Violent Crime, is now available. For more information on that, you can go to 20secondresponse.com. And last news, I am now hosting a forum on womansavers.com, and they were my guests on that Valentine show where I first talked with Ron Knight and talked about My Mobile Witness. I've got a great new forum. If you've got a personal safety question you'd like me to answer, just go over to womansavers.com and check me out over there. All right, let's go back to scenarios. There was one more scenario that I saw that was on your website, mymobilewitness.com. And you talked about, and this isn't even a crime scenario, you talked about, let's say you're going for a hike or going out in the woods, right? Or you're going for a ride. Take a picture of the trail sign, right? If anything was to happen to you and law enforcement was searching for you, there's a picture there of where you were. Have you heard about anyone using it for that purpose?
Yeah, this is Ron. Yeah, I have. Here in Colorado, we usually have a search about every 2 weeks, and it's a fairly simple 10-second procedure to take a picture of the trailhead and at least give the searcher somewhere to start. Obviously, if you're in your neighborhood somewhere you're comfortable, that's one thing, but up here we can get in some pretty wild terrain in a big hurry, and it's a very common sense way to just make sure that people know where you went.
Sure, exactly. Because you can take a picture of the trail sign. You can say 1:15 p.m. So they have kind of a record of where you've been.
Actually, Susan, in Colorado, you're supposed to sign in at the trailhead, and I've noticed when I'm hiking, very few people do that. There's a little sign-in roster in case something happens to you. They can check and see where you at this trailhead, and for people that didn't want to do that, this would sure be a good way to just ensure your safety a little bit.
Okay, and even if you're not climbing up mountains, because I'm a city kid, I got to tell you, that's not my thing. But even if I was just going out maybe for a jog in an unfamiliar place, not necessarily climbing up something, I think, like let's say you're on vacation, just a quick snap. Here's where I am. Time.
Right.
I just think it's a good habit to get into.
Well, and that is, Susan, Mark here, that is something one of the state police had laid out to us as a use, in that if you went for a jog and you went missing for whatever reason, got injured or had another problem, and they went to the account, it gives them a starting point, because maybe somebody calls them and says, I haven't seen Susan since noon, and it's 5 o'clock. Well, now they have to think about the last 5 hours. If they go to your account and they see that you took a picture before you went jogging at 3 o'clock, they're going to start there, and they're going to find that location, and then they might look at other cameras in that area. They'll go to the local bank camera or the gas station camera and see if they can gather more information. But just like searching for the missing hiker, it gives them a starting point of 3 o'clock and this location.
Absolutely. So many uses, not even just always in a crime situation. Now, let's talk about some of the nitty-gritty aspects of the service. Now, this is a free service. How can this service be free?
We designed it so that we could offer it out to the public at the base level free. Anyone that has a fairly basic phone can utilize the service. We have some other plans for revenue generation. We're working on a customized campus solution with a few major universities right now. And in the future, we hope to introduce geotagging and live streaming video. And when we introduce live streaming video, that will be a pay service. So
and
back to your parking lot scenario, where you're snapping the picture. Maybe all you're doing is turning your video camera on as you walk across. If you stayed late at work, you just turn the video camera on. It becomes your own personal security camera.
And that means that you have to have a phone that will do that, right?
Correct. That's why we wanted to launch the base service as you see it today, so that we could say to anybody, if you can text or you can send a picture today, you can use the service.
Right.
To do the streaming video and some of the other more complex applications, now you have to educate people about having a certain phone, and that's evolving here in the United States, where more and more people are beginning to buy smartphones and phones that can download applications.
And I definitely like this for college campuses, by the way. I really think, and I did a very interesting show on bystanders and their role in preventing sexual assault on college campuses. And I see, again, My Mobile Witness as having a part in that, because what we talked about on that show is that if you see something going on that you think is suspicious, maybe you think you saw someone put something in someone's drink or something, take a picture of the scenario and then do your intervention. In that show, I really talked about how you would do the intervention. It's a great show. If you want to, if people, anyone wants to go back into that archives and find that Bringing in the Bartender show. Here's another great way that you could use My Mobile Witness. If you suspect something's going to be happening on that college campus, you can take that picture of it.
Well, and that is what some of the police forces on the college campuses we've met with are. That's exactly what they're describing. Is one, they say they get calls where something's happened, car accident, whatever, and by the time they get there, that person has left the campus. They're on a highway, they're gone, and they're dealing with eyewitness testimony, where if somebody could take a picture, it would provide them with more information, more accurate information. And they also feel that if all of the students were aware of this and they were using it, it would make the general community there safer. Somebody entering that community, if they know, hey, everybody with a cell phone might take a picture of you if you're doing something wrong, they think that would lower their numbers.
I think this is absolutely a perfect venue. The college campuses, you know, there can't be too much done. You can't do enough. saying that right. You cannot do enough to ensure safety. There's just so many ways things can go wrong on these campuses. Now, I did have another question about the nitty-gritty of the service. You mentioned geotagging, and I don't actually know what that is. So explain what that is.
Well, geotagging, again, requires a more sophisticated handset, and if your handset has a GPS chip, more and more are being built with them, then you can geotag photos. And what that simply is when you send the picture, it gives the latitude and longitude of the picture. So that if police are looking at it, they know exactly where you're standing at the time. Now, we're not delivering that right now because we want to, the base service goes out to everybody, but down the road we will with the more sophisticated handsets. That gives them the latitude, longitude immediately. Now, today, even with the simple service that we have, Ron, I believe there's ways, not quickly, but there are ways for law enforcement to figure out roughly where a picture was taken if they needed to.
Yeah, that's correct. You can locate the cell tower, and while that doesn't give you latitude and longitude, it'll give you the general area in the city that you were at where you hit that cell tower in order to gain your service.
Wow, that's like a handheld GPS. I love that. I think that's great. Now let's go back and talk about again some of the nitty-gritty of the service. Can people view the pictures that they've sent to their My Mobile Witness account?
No. We set it up so that they couldn't see it because we didn't want it to be used for. It's not social. We didn't want it to be used for bullying or anything other than you've sent it here for a singular reason. They can't see it, but there is an activity log, so you can log into your personal account with your passcode so that you know the service is working. You'll be able to see that your picture or your text posted. It'll just say activity posted. It'll give you the date and time so that you can see that it works. But from an evidentiary standpoint and a protection standpoint, we didn't want anyone to be able to get to it once you sent it, which also means somebody couldn't ask you to prove that you sent it. Somebody couldn't ask you to delete it. You can't.
Have you ever thought about having your own internet talk show? Well, if you said yes, then click About Us. Then click Be a Host to get more information. Or just call Jeff Spinard
we don't limit
at
that,
480-294-6417.
Say that again?
480-294-6417. VoiceAmerica.com.
To go ahead and roll them off. And then the other reason we wanted them to eventually roll off
I'm Catherine.
we
are the March Times
2008
National Ambassador family. Although Catherine was born extremely premature with many challenges, today she is a healthy 5-year-old thanks to the March of Dimes.
I'm Don Germano, Senior Vice President of Kmart Stores.
Excellent.
Kmart is proud to support March of Dimes' mission to help moms have full-term pregnancies and healthy babies. Please make a donation at any Kmart or at marchforbabies.org so that one day all babies are born healthy.
Safety. I've got some great safety tips coming up. So stay tuned.
Divorce, child custody, support, and visitation, division of property, attorneys, court. Just the thought of divorce is stressful enough. Never mind the combative, destructive, and expensive process. Is there a better way? Yes, divorce mediation. On Divorce Mediation, Myths and Facts, host Philip Mulford, one of the country's top divorce mediators, will discuss this incredibly successful alternative. Formerly a practicing attorney, Philip will explore the myths and facts about a process that has kept his clients out of court and saved them thousands of dollars. If you aren't familiar with divorce mediation, or your lawyer has told you it's not appropriate for your case, this show is for you. After listening to Divorce Mediation, Myths and Facts, you'll tell anyone considering a divorce, go to mediation first. Divorce Mediation, changing the culture of divorce.
After more than 17 years' experience teaching safety skills to thousands of women and men, crime prevention and personal safety expert Susan Bartelstone concluded that by thinking and responding quickly, ideally within 20 seconds, potentially violent criminal encounters can be prevented. Using techniques from many different disciplines and illustrated by 60 real-life examples and success stories, Susan shows how it's done in her new book, Think Fast and Prevent a Violent Crime, How to Respond to Danger in 20 Seconds or Less. Check out www.fightsafe.com for more information. You'll also find information there on Susan's upcoming Crime Prevention 101 personal safety teleseminars. Think fast, talk fast, fight smart, which stress the many opportunities you have to deter or defuse a criminal encounter and how to use your brains instead of your muscles in a fight. Look for the new book information or sign up for Susan Bartelstone's personal safety seminars at www.fightsafe.com today.
News, opinion, your voice counts. Call toll-free 1-866-472-5787. 1-866-472-5787. VoiceAmerica.com.
You're listening to Crime Prevention 101 with Susan Bartelstone. We invite you to share your stories, tips, or suggestions for topics you'd like us to cover, and Susan will address some of these on future shows. Send your story or idea to solutions@fightsafe.com. That email address again is solutions@fightsafe.com. Now back to Crime Prevention 101 with Susan Bartelstone.
Welcome back. And if you've just joined us, I'm talking with Mark Anthony and Ron Knight from the My Mobile Witness cell phone service. That we've been talking about ways that you can use this service to help with your personal safety. And I'm going to post more information about this topic on my SusanBartelstone.com website. It's going to be there for you, too. You can also go to mymobilewitness.com, and they've got lots of information there for you. And I've got a number of resources that I'm also going to be putting on my website along this line. So make sure you go check that out, SusanBartelstone.com. And I think that, is there anything else that you think is critical that we didn't talk? Oh, yes. It's really important in order for the police to know where to look, that you have this account. How do you let your friends and family know that they should check the My Mobile account if something happens or if you go missing for some reason?
Well, this is Ron. It's a good idea to let somebody know that you have an account. I hope that in the future this becomes part of the lexicon and just becomes a very routine check. But someone has to know to check that number, and it's a fairly easy process. And Susan, can I just backtrack 1 second and kind of amplify a point that Mark made?
Okay.
When you send that picture, the thing to remember is it's really your account and you're sending it to yourself. You know, I'm sure some of the listeners are saying, well, I could just send it to a friend or send it to a family member or something. Well, people may not want to send a picture to, I know, and speaking from my own experience, I have a son in college, and he's a great kid, but I'm sure he sometimes colors outside the lines, and I don't think he wants me to know everything he's doing, but that doesn't mean he might not feel a little uncomfortable at times, and I want him to have that tool, and I don't necessarily need to be in every aspect of his life, and I think a lot of people would be hesitant to send a picture from a social situation that they really didn't want to share with friends and family. And the thing to remember about this service is essentially you're sending it to a secure server. It's not going to be reviewed going in, but it gives the sender an opportunity to have that conversation with the person that may cause them a problem, just to tell them that the picture has been sent. And again, they are not anonymous. So if things continue to deteriorate, people are going to know what happened.
Right, and Ron, I think that's a great point. If you're doing something that you think your mom and dad might not want to know about or might not want you to do, don't worry, because they will not see this.
That's
You're
right.
sending it to yourself. So you don't need to have any hesitation about using this service. And if you're, thinking about, look, we all do crazy things sometimes, especially when we're younger. And you don't need to worry about anyone seeing this unless you want them to see it or you've notified people in case of an emergency, and only then can law enforcement see it. Your mom and dad cannot log in to your account and see this. It has
Susan,
to come.
Mark here, one of the developers even referred to the texting feature as a personal diary. He said essentially it's a personal diary. It's being locked away. Nobody can open it. You're correct. Your parents can't read it. Your friends can't read it. But if it's something you wanted to keep a record of, that you could later point back at if needed, it's there, and nobody can get to it.
Great. It's mymobilewitness.com. Now, guys, I wrote an article, and I thought maybe at this point I would just talk a little bit about some other things that you can do, or things that have been done with camera phones. And the article is called "Camera Phones: The New Wrinkle in the Fight Against Crime," and this is on my SusanBartelstone.com website, so it's available if anyone wants it. And I talk about 3 or 4 situations where people have used it. They didn't have my mobile witness here, and these are other scenarios that you might use a cell phone for. And there was a case where a 15-year-old fellow from New Jersey, someone was trying to abduct him and pull him into a car, and he snapped a picture of the man. He was able to thwart that, and he snapped the picture of the guy and the car's license plate, and he sent it to the police. He was able to, and in some states, you can send directly. They will accept, 911 will accept cell phone pictures and text messages. So you need to check with your own local 911 whether they do that. He was able to get that license plate, and the police were able to arrest this guy the very next day. So I think that's really important to know. And there was a limo driver in Tennessee, and his car had been robbed, and he sees this car driving down the street and stopping next to some guy's pickup truck, and he realized that the guy in the pickup truck was the guy that stole the car. He'd seen him do it. Again, he took a picture of the truck and the license plate, took it to the police, and they were able to pick up this guy, and they caught him, and he got his car back. I love that. Now, here's a great one, guys. You're going to love this one. Now, in New York, where I live, there's a young girl. She was a young high school girl. Some guy came up and flashed her, right? You know what that is, right? He exposed himself to her. And she took a picture of him. This was at 7:30 in the morning on a crowded subway. He exposed himself. She took a picture of him with the camera phone. She ran to the policeman who was on the platform there. Cop picked him up right away. Excellent. Perfect way that you can use a cell phone.
Very quick thinking.
Quick thinking, absolutely. And in a kind of a related incident, another New York City woman riding the subway, again, confronted by a flasher. He exposed himself. He was sitting directly across from her. And he exposed himself to her. And not only did she take the picture and have him arrested, but she posted the picture on the Internet. There's a site called Hollaback, HOLLABACK. And they're all over the country. And she posted his picture on the Hollaback site so that forever and ever this guy's creepy picture is there. And, you know, they don't usually give flashers a lot of prison time or anything like that. So I think that was a really excellent way that she got back at him. And one more thing I want to talk about. You guys know about ICE, ICE, in case of emergency. One of the things that you can do on your cell phone is you can put in contact information of the person that in case there was an emergency, ICE, you would like the emergency service people to call. And what you do is you put in, as a phone number, you put ICE1, Mom, you know, Ruth Jones, and the phone number. ICE2, you know, boyfriend, Tom Jones, whatever it is, with the phone number. So if you're in an accident or something like that and they find your cell phone, they know, the emergency service people or the police know exactly who to call. Well, Ron and Mark, thank you so very much for being on the show with me. Gosh, doesn't it just fly by? I can't tell you what a pleasure. Thank you.
Remember thank you, Susan. It was a pleasure.
It's a pleasure. We'll be talking a lot more in the future. I know we will. Now, remember, all past shows are archived on my SusanBartelstone.com website, as well as my VoiceAmerica.com, my host page. I'm going to put a link to My Mobile Witness right on my website so you can get there very, very easily. If you have a question or a comment about today's show or a safety concern, email me, solutions@fightsafe.com. Don't forget to check out my forum on womansavers.com. Next week, I'm going to be talking about a very exciting alternative method for healing from a crime or from sexual violence or just from post-traumatic stress disorder. This is one of the most amazing techniques that I've heard about. It's called EFT or tapping. You are not going to want to miss this. In fact, it would be a crime not to listen. So stay tuned and stay safe.
We hope you got some useful information and inspiration this week on Crime Prevention 101. Susan Bartelstone invites you to join us again next Saturday at 11 a.m. Pacific Time and 2 p.m. Eastern Time here on Voice America. Have a great weekend and a safe weekend.